Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's happening? So Canelo Alvarez successful versus Avni Yildirim. Third round TKO. Yildirim retired on his stool. He was getting dominated the whole fight. It was what I'm pretty sure everybody expected. I mean, the guy, I didn't expect really anything from Yildirim. I've seen, Chris Eubank just beat on him like a punching bag, and I didn't expect anything different for Canelo to go in there and do exactly the same thing. This was less than a sparring match. At least in sparring, your sparring partner is instructed to at least go out there and give you looks and make it a little bit interesting so you can get better. But this guy didn't throw no punches. I think he threw like one punch in all of the 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So Canelo went out there and did what he was supposed to do to him. And now, as I talked about in previous video, Canelo staying active, he already got a fight date. You know what I'm saying? I believe it's May 8th versus Billy Joe Saunders. Of course, Cinco de Mayo weekend is going down. You did. So I think that's a nice little fight, man. It's a unification match. It should be a competitive fight, at least, throughout some parts of the fight. This fight really it can really develop into a very competitive fight depending on Billy Joe Saunders. His energy, his preparation, and how he approaches this fight. It could develop into a very competitive fight. But, if Billy Joe Saunders is like the last few guys that got in the ring with Canelo and he just shows up just to show up, then it's going to look like those same fights. But Billy Joe Saunders, he's been very vocal about getting this fight with Canelo for a good reason. It's a good payday. Canelo on top of the game right now when it comes to, every facet of the sport of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Especially on the financial side as well. He can sell and he gonna get you, he got a solid fan base. And a fight with Canelo can get you a nice little check. So that's an obvious reason, but of course, it's a unification match, so maybe Billy Joe Saunders actually wants to compete and wants to prove that he's the best. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of reasons why this is a good fight, a decent fight, a fight that's worth watching. How does Billy Joe Saunders beat Canelo Alvarez, though? You got Canelo, who is one of the best counterpunchers in the sport of boxing, extremely intelligent, extremely sharp, great hand speed, very fast, especially at 168. He's a shorter guy in stature, but he's very, very stocky and sturdy, got good legs and good balance, good leverage on his shots. He's always in great position to land punches accurately and with thud and power. You know what I'm saying? So for Billy Joe Saunders, how do you approach this? How do you approach this fight? What's your game plan? Of course, everybody's first thought is going to be Billy Joe Saunders got to outbox Canelo. You got to move. You got to keep him on his toes because we've seen Canelo versus Floyd Mayweather. Floyd stood in the pocket with Canelo, but footwork was definitely still an intricate and a very important part to Floyd Mayweather's success versus Canelo. Being able to move, pivot, put Canelo in uncomfortable situations, get your shots off, being able to counter, then also being able to be first. Floyd was able to put all of that together versus Canelo, and he had a successful outing, won almost every round. So you saw with Erislandy Lara had a lot of success. I actually had Lara winning that fight by a very small margin, simply because he boxed amazingly as far as on defense, using his feet and stuff like that, but he just wasn't offensive enough to to be able to put a big enough gap on the cards. You know what I'm saying? So he really fucked himself by not being at least a little bit more offensive in between those exchanges, so you can kind of show the judges that, hey, I am in control. Even though I felt like Erislandy Lara was in control the full fight and he boxed well, I thought he won that fight, but he didn't get the nod from the judges. We've seen that Canelo Alvarez can have some issues with boxers that move, boxers that's really good with their feet, good with controlling the distance and having a crisp and accurate jab and able to counter. We haven't really, those are the type of fighters that we've seen in the past that's proven to trouble Canelo Alvarez. Now, Billy Joe Saunders is a very skilled boxer, very talented, great feet, good jab, nice distance control. He does keep his hands down too much to my liking, but Billy Joe Saunders has a lot of skill, man. Nice hand speed. I really haven't seen his chin tested that much because he's so good on defense, but I would like to see Billy Joe Saunders be very, very sharp in this fight. Sometimes he can get caught trying to exchange. If you go back and watch the performance versus David Lemieux, that's probably the type of fight that Billy Joe Saunders is gonna have to fight to win against Canelo. That's gonna be his best chance. But then even that, if he goes out there and boxes beautifully, but he's not offensive enough, because he don't want to get countered with nothing crazy, can he still win on the cards? Can you get a decision versus Canelo? How do you get a decision versus Canelo? You got to be extremely dominant with the boxing. He going to have the perfect mix between offense and defense. Versus David Lemieux, he didn't throw a whole lot of punches in that fight, but he was so superior with the foot movement and the timing on the counters that, it was just a blowout type of victory. And, he going to have to go back to that in order to beat Canelo. Now, he is the bigger guy. I don't know if he's going to be the physically stronger guy in this fight. It's different ways that you can win a fight. But in this particular matchup, I feel like Billy Joe Saunders is going to have to be an elite master boxer. He's going to have to be the Billy Joe Saunders that fought David Lemieux and then some. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to be twice as sharp. He's going to have to be twice as fast on the counters. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to be twice as intelligent in that fight. And I think it could make for a very, very, entertaining fight, a chess match. And, it's going to be dangerous, whenever he does try to be offensive, just enough so he can show the judges, like, look, I'm in control. Those are going to be the dangerous moments for him because we know Canelo is very, very skilled with the counterpunching and he's fast and accurate. His timing is impeccable. It's going to be really, really tough for him to be offensive enough, but not too offensive to where you putting yourself in harm's way of getting clipped with something, getting knocked down. Now that sets you back 2 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So I think Billy Joe Saunders definitely has a chance to win. I think it's definitely gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Billy Joe Saunders is you can kind of compare him and Caleb Plant. So Canelo fighter, even though Billy Joe Saunders is a southpaw, they have similar styles with the foot movement and the hand speed, the boxing ability. I think Caleb Plant is more offensive, which is why I like Canelo versus Plant a lot more. Even though I think all of these fights, I think those 2 fights, Canelo versus Plant and Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, is about the same. If you're talking about, percentage-wise, I think both of those fights are 55-45 Canelo, maybe even 60-40 Canelo. But I still think they're good fights, you know what I'm saying? Really, those are good fights. 55-45, that's really good. You know what I'm saying? So, though that's an interesting fight, but I like Caleb Plant's style a little bit more just because he's more offensive. So, which is dangerous, but then at the same time, that's how you gonna get a win over Canelo. You have to be aggressive enough and still box well. You know what I'm saying? You have to put together the complete fight. You got to put together the complete package if you want to get a decision over Canelo, let alone knock him out. That's, you know what I'm saying? We ain't even seen the man down. So trying to knock him out, I don't think that's the plan when fighting Canelo. You got to, if you do get close to a knockout or something like that, you got to break him down gradually. You know what I'm saying? So y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. How do y'all feel about a Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders matchup? How you see that fight playing out, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Contender regime boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.